I don't know. I don't push it too hard. I just kind of have the link down in my YouTube channel description or YouTube description on the videos.
Paul,
But,
do we know we're live? I never know. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, we're live on the page. I'm about
We're
to share my
live. Yeah.
okay,
On the
awesome.
page. All right. All right. So we got to get in the group.
Yeah.
Happy freaking New Year's. And then we do the bot reminder too, balls.
Dude, I didn't even get to that yet.
Hey, is my face like huge on the screen for you guys too?
It's gonna be whoever's actively speaking.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
like
So it'll rotate. Blue Jeans is real nice about it.
it feels like my face is like super zoomed in even
I
though
mean,
I'm like,
you're a little close, but it's not bad, man. You're good.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's like way closer to normal. Like I'm like not I'm pretty far away from it, but
We are good. Looks like we're live on the page. Welcome, everybody. Happy freaking New Year's. I'm so excited 2018 is here. So excited that the holidays are over. I mean, it's always fun, but man, it throws you out a little bit of a rhythm and grind. But I'm ready to rock and roll. Should be a huge, huge fucking year. Excited, very, very excited to get started with someone who's become a good friend of mine, Jason Wardrop. We'll tell a story about how we met and how kind of a small world it is here in a second. But so excited to have him on. Jason's been killing it. I've learned a ton from him over the last 6 months. We're actually in Alex Becker's mastermind together, which there's only, what, 25, 30 people, Jason, in the world?
yeah, something like that, 25 to 30 or so.
And
So
there's
it's
people
a
in
fun group.
France, Abu Dhabi, Canada, all over the place. And somehow me and Jason end up living 10 minutes from each other. So we were able to connect through that. It's been awesome. We both have gotten a ton of value out of Becker Singh. Again, I've learned a ton from him. So with that, Jason, how about you just give us a little bit of background of, your story, man? I know you were in Inner Circle with Russell Brunson before. Most people
Yeah.
watching know about him. So just talk about everything you've done here in the past.
For sure, man. Yeah, I'll give a quick rundown. So, I kind of started in the whole digital marketing space probably 7 years ago or something like that, and was back with SEO, kind of where everyone got started, and had a dental website, and was just like trying. At that time, I was like just trying to make money off of AdSense, and so I didn't really know like, okay, the potential of like making big money, and so I was like, oh, okay, I'm making a few bucks here and there, but wasn't anything too exciting. And then I started learning more about lead gen, started learning more about email marketing and that whole process. And so actually we went through and started building out a software that kind of entails all that, like the lead gen aspect, the email, text marketing, follow-up, CRM, all those different pieces. And so we started building that out probably about 3.5 years ago. And initially, like it was kind of weird because even though I had a little bit of background in digital marketing, I was like, I'm gonna go sell this to big corporations that have like hundreds or thousands of sales reps or users. And I just sell one contract and then we like slay the whale, slay the giant and get tons of people coming on. And what happened is I found out like the sales cycle was like 6 to 8 months long. And even at that point, like they'd lead you on and then for no reason, they'd be like, yeah, we're actually not going to do it. And so it would just like kill all the momentum. And so I didn't have like a real sustainable, scalable way to go through and grow my business. And so it was at that time I kind of started really diving in research. Okay, how can I like have that repeatable sales process that's, no matter what, I can rely on myself and I know what's going to happen with my business. And so that was probably, I think about 2 years ago. And so I kind of sought out and joined Russell Brunson's Inner Circle group. And because I knew like webinars were kind of his thing and those were like the big thing at the time. And it was honestly a little bit before his whole ClickFunnels thing was really taking off and exploding. So it was kind of nice to jump in there before it was like totally growing because I could kind of see that whole process and get kind of a behind the scenes look. And anyway, so I started learning, diving into webinars and, started getting that repeatable weekly sales process going, got some stuff clicking. And then, we joined up in 6 months ago, probably in Alex Becker's group. And since then, like, I already had a pretty successful webinar, I felt like, but yeah, Becker's been able to like help me a ton of take that webinar to the next level and then even have some follow-up process to get more people on the software and, just kind of grow the whole business. So that's kind of a quick/long rundown of everything I've got going on.
I love it, man. And it took a while for you to, settle in. And then a lot of times people get so frustrated if after like a couple months, you're not rich overnight. Shit ain't easy. It takes a long time to get comfortable. It's okay if you blow your first couple sales calls. There's hard lessons to learn along the way. I mean, we
For
learned a
sure.
big lesson ourselves in December here. And it's funny that you brought up Becker and learning so much from him. People who've watched the channel regularly know how much I preach about him. I think he's the best internet marketer on the planet to follow right now. He's giving away so much free stuff in his life, shit that we paid a lot of money for in some
Oh yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
He's giving it away for free now. But access to him is huge, and we've got the big masterminds. But I want to dig in a little bit about what you were saying with webinars, how you built your business, because one thing that we always talk about here is sales and how to get more clients in. And we've talked to we're blue in the death about Balls' amazing cold email strategy, my custom video prospecting strategy. Our last couple calls of the new year were about inbound sales processes. And you
Cool.
did a very unique thing where you had a software first that you would build, and then you combine that with a course, correct? And then
Yeah.
built a webinar through that in order to get clients in on the back end, in order to stick
Yep.
it in that way. So what I want you to talk a little bit about is one, I mean, you don't have to give away everything with your software. Just talk a little bit what it is, the type of market you're in, and a little bit about what your sales process looks like. Because I think it's good for everybody here how many different ways there are to do this.
For
And
sure.
guys, for everyone, whatever Jason says here, he's absolutely crushing it. I know how much what he does every Thursday, with his webinars and all that stuff. I'm trying to get to that point. I've learned a lot. He actually shared a lot with me in helping get my webinars off the ground. So talk a little bit about some of your sales process, how you got to
Yeah.
that point, and just a new strategy for the whole group here.
For sure, man. So yeah, it all kind of goes back to like after a couple months I was in Russell's inner circle, I met a friend in there and he was kind of like talking with me about like, hey man, you got to kind of like picture where you want to be. Like where like what's your ideal business? What does that look like? And then your sales process and everything, they have to match up to matching that. Cause like if you start from the beginning with getting things in place that you don't want to have long term, then you kind of screw yourself from the beginning, right? So like for me, I didn't want to grow this massive agency with hundreds of employees and just be doing client work and all that stuff all the time. I'm like, I'm not the best people person, I guess, and definitely not the best manager. I just work from home. Everyone on our team works remotely, and I love that. And I don't know. I've had a lot of people tell me I should get an office and all that stuff, which maybe one day we'll get that. But anyway, so like I didn't really want that, and so that was like the beauty for me of like going through and doing webinars. And like I'm definitely an introverted person. Like I suck at phone sales. Like if somebody were to like get me like I don't know, I have all these people all the time. If I get on a phone with them, I like almost end up wanting just to give them whatever I have to offer, like not paying money or anything. I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll just hook you up, which obviously is like the stupidest thing in the world as far as like the business side goes. So I'm like, okay, if I'm on a webinar, I can get like the sales pitch, the process down, and like more do that selling that way, and then obviously the email marketing. So basically, anyway, that's kind of a long-winded run through into what's kind of the process is, but obviously it takes a lot of hard work to nail it down, but this is the simple process that I've got that's repeated every single week is I run ads. So I have my ads already up and running for next Thursday's webinar. And then I do a live webinar every Thursday. And people still ask me like, why do you still do a live webinar? Your webinar converts really well. And I still do it just mainly like, obviously because it converts way better than an auto for me at least. So I get higher show up rates and all that stuff with the automated webinar. But as far as like purely like cost per sale, it's just a lot better on the lives, even though you get a little bit lower show up rate. And so I still do those every week. And then I use the autos for the follow-up process. So like have my ads running, get people on. So my goal is to get 1,000 registrants every single week. It doesn't always happen, but that's kind of the ideal, right? And then I do the live webinar Thursday morning, and then afterwards I've got 2 segments. And I've tried a million different follow-up processes, like seriously, well, probably not a million, like 5 or 6 or something like that. And this is actually one that kind of Becker helped me work into. And it's literally a 48-hour close, so I'm not spamming people with all these emails. But for people that attended, then I'll send them a replay and then right after the webinar, and then also send them, hey, the replay's closing down Thursday night. So I think that email went out maybe 10, 15 minutes ago. And then that's it for the people that attended. And then the people that did not attend, right after the webinar, I say, hey, we've got an encore training starting soon. I have an automated top of the hour webinar. And then on, on Saturday, I send the second email reminder. And then I use ConvertKit. So on Friday, anyone who didn't open the Thursday email, I just do a resend to everyone who did not open the email. And so I can get my open rates to about 50, 55% on that. And so I get maximum people opening up that email. And then that's it. So I'm not like spamming these people like, oh yeah. Then one last thing I'll share with you guys that's been killing it. I'm sure mostly everyone already knows this, but the chat bots. So I was getting about a 28% on average show up rate to my webinars on the attendance rate. And like today, I think I had a 38% show up rate. And then I even right after the webinar, everyone that was on that list, I'll shoot them a reminder. Hey, by the way, if you missed the training, here's the link. And it's interesting because like not only will that lead into like more people jumping on the automated webinar, the follow-up, but I also get a lot of sales conversations that start up from that. Like, hey, I was on, but like I was confused on this, or hey, I was on, but whatever. So I've had actually a few sales come through just from like having those in Facebook Messenger.
Wow. Guys, for everyone who's watching right now, that was like $1 million strategy right there. Like, that's it. That's the strategy. That's the
So
same
basically, just show up, do a 90-minute webinar every week, and that's how easy it is. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, nothing else.
That's all you
But
got to
seriously
do.
though, that's very similar to what we were doing. We're messing around with a lot of stuff right now. But webinars are so huge and so important for selling. I thought it was interesting hearing that you mentioned that you're an introvert and you don't really like talking on the phone. I never would have guessed that because I've listened to your webinars before. I've watched your YouTube channel, which we'll make sure everyone needs to subscribe to that below. We need to make sure you get on that because he's giving away a ton of great stuff in his YouTube channel as well. But talk a little about your sales process. You're just closing people straight up on the webinar, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically what I'm doing is I lead with, since it's all cold traffic, I lead with the payment plan, which that's also another Becker gold nugget for me. I'd always lead with a one payment of $9.97. And when people see that, they it's kind of like they get scared and they jump off or whatever. So I lead with 3 payments of $367. And yes, not all the payment plans go through. It sucks and all that stuff, but you do get more sales. And so it is great. And also a thing I love is you get those next month sales. So it's like, I know like, I think it's every Saturday and Tuesday. Like I get these massive spikes in sales because I do the webinar on Thursday. And then the next month, I think it's like, it turns out to be a Saturday day of the week that the second payment rolls in. And then the third payment rolls in on a Tuesday. So you get all these days throughout the week that are just like big spikes instead of just having the one spike of revenue coming on a Thursday. But anyway.
No,
So
that's
that
awesome,
webinar?
man.
On
Go ahead,
that
Buzz.
webinar, you're selling the course or you're selling the software? What are you doing on that webinar?
Oh yeah. So good question. So I'm selling, it's really similar to like the Russell Brunson funnel hacks or Alex Becker's like whole market hero thing. So I'm selling 6 months of the software plus a course showing. So my target market, I don't think I've hit this yet. My target market is real estate agents and mortgage brokers. So our software is like a landing page builder with an email text marketing follow-up, CRM, social automation. So it's got all these different components combined into one. And so then on the webinar, I'm basically showing like real estate agents or mortgage brokers how to generate leads and like how to use Facebook ads and combine it all together using the software and how easy we've made it. And I'm saying, okay, we're going to get you 6 months of the software plus all these trainings of how to get buyer leads, seller leads, open house leads, and here's the email templates and all this stuff all combined into one.
Yeah. So you're basically giving the entire agency work in the course and software and then building them up through the software. All the
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah, and I think that's brilliant. I know there's a lot of people in here who hear about SaaS softwares, looking and getting into it. It's huge. And a lot of people I know are afraid of it. They're afraid of the webinar model too. So
Yeah.
when it comes to the webinar model, because again, we've been talking about inbound stuff here recently, people setting up ads, driving inbound traffic. Obviously, not everyone is necessarily ready to spend $5,000 a week or whatever on ads, but how long did it take you to get going with the webinar? What was your mindset going into it? Especially if, you mentioned that you're introverted, because I know a lot of people are just afraid, straight up afraid
Yeah.
to get on the camera, or to get on the phone, or to get on, whatever. So talk a little bit about that and what that was like kind of at the beginning when you were, going through that process of getting set up.
Yeah, man. So it's been a long road, I'll be honest. Like even I don't know, like even if you look at my stuff 6 months ago, it's like completely different than it is now, even a year ago or whatever. So I started diving into the real estate space August of 2016. Before that, I was trying to like do a lot of different markets and honestly, I mean, the thing is that you'll learn is, and you guys all know this, it's like the more you do something, the better you get at it. And so, initially I was like the whole webinar process took way longer than probably most people. Like, you got Dan Henry who's like in his first 2 months as a millionaire or whatever it is. Like for me, I went and I had this webinar and initially like we were kind of hitting the network marketing space because I'm out here in Utah. There's like network marketers everywhere. And so I was like, oh, this will be perfect, low hanging fruit, all that stuff, but they were so cheap they didn't want to buy anything. Like, and my price point on the webinar was actually a third. I was selling it for $300, the same thing I'm selling to real estate agents for 1,000. And there was this like still no one that was wanting to buy. And so like I got some good like experience in that, I guess. And I remember like I would get like 15 registrants on and then like maybe one person show up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the worst. And then there'll be another time where I get 50 people registered and then like my webinar software would crash and I'm like, oh gosh, I just wasted another $100 or whatever. So it's definitely been a scale up, but if you are starting out, like one thing that I would highly suggest is if you've got a webinar that you want to test out to see if it's actually going to work, shoot to get at least 100 registrants on registered for that webinar. Like for a long time, I was like, okay, I'm going to put $500 into ads. And if I put $500 into ads and I make one sale, I'm going to 2x my money. I'll be good to go. I just have to make one sale. But if you look at the typical numbers, let's say the cost per lead's $10 and you put $500 in, you get 50 people registered. Let's say you have a 20% show up rate, you get 10 people on, and then you have a 10% close rate, which 10% close rate is like awesome. That's what you want to shoot for. Then you get one sale. So like you're barely giving yourself enough leeway to like get one sale, and that's if you've nailed everything. So that's where I was like, okay, I was doing that for several weeks, and then I realized, okay, I'm not making sales. Maybe it's just because I need more people on. And so I bumped it up, shot for 100 registrants, and that's where I started to see like what my real numbers were. Because to nerd out on you guys for a second, it's all the statistics, law of large numbers. Like the more people you get, the more statistically significant it is. So I found that 100 mark, which if your cost per lead's not great, so it's $10 per lead, you're going to spend about $1,000 that week, but you're at least giving yourself a shot to get at least one sale, which that's what I like to do. So if your webinar is actually going to convert or not, and if you should be banging your head against the wall or if you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. Guys, real quick, I see we got, good 13, 15 people watching here. Let us know below if you guys have done any webinars before. Again, take advantage of this. Ask Jason questions. Ask myself questions. We both ran webinars. Jason's done a lot more than me. He's seen multiple industries, niches. I'm glad that you brought up that you work in real estate market. I may or may not have made a few jokes about working with realtors on this channel here in the past and how I fucking hated it. But look, you can still make a ton off it if you set it up properly. How much has that helped you by niching down or hurt you? What do you think? Niching down and then, switching the markets that you were going after. So talk a little about that and how you ended up on realtors in the first place.
Dude, it's been everything, man. I think niching down, you have to do that. If you don't niche down, you're gonna fail. And failing to me, like you could be doing 10 grand a month still, but you're failing because you're not even close to your potential. So like for me, before I dove into real estate, August 2016, I was, because we were just trying to figure out what worked with our software. We didn't really know. We knew like there was a lot of use cases because it's like a landing page builder, email follow-up, all that stuff. So it's like obviously it could work for a number of industries, but we were going after, I was meeting with chiropractors, dentists, network marketers. And so like there was nothing that was consistent about anything because everyone that I met with, they're like, oh, well, what other chiropractors have been on? What's been their experience? And so then I finally was like, you know what? I'm just going to dive into real estate, not talk to anybody else, and just focus on that 100% and just build up all the case studies. And since then, like, we were able to take off very quickly, just focusing. And then even a few months later, I had several big insurance companies with hundreds of agents come to me saying, hey, we want to jump on your software. And I was like, no, I only do real estate. And so the goal was, I've got to go make at least $1 million in real estate before I do anything else. So I went through, did that, and now just recently I branched off into mortgage. And the only reason why I branched off into mortgage is because it's so closely related with real estate. Like, you get a buyer lead for a real estate agent, it's a buyer lead for a mortgage broker, So it's like they can share the same leads. And now, I want to go through and ramp it up. It's like I basically, and it's cool because like I use the same exact webinar. All I do is change out like the use cases for a mortgage broker. And then I've got some mortgage broker case studies. I switch those in and out. And it's really the same pitch, the same type of thing. And then I just have those two different focuses. And honestly, I don't think I could branch out into insurance. We've had some really good fitness campaigns that have killed it. Got a lot of other campaigns, but me personally, I don't think I will ever branch out. Just because I like to stay niche specific, and that's just been what worked for me so far.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's exactly the same experience we've had. When we were everything to everybody, it was just a freaking nightmare. It was all over the place. It was inconsistent. Once we really dialed it in, we're at the point now where we turn down deals too, all the time.
Yeah.
And our methodology inside B Top Local is, unless it can be $250,000 a month, I don't want to look at it. It's not even going to touch it. And we've been having discussions about entering different industries, but we're finding those that are as closely related to what we're already in. So I think that's huge. And again, guys, this is in real estate, which is basically in, all the little groups that we're in, like the downfall. Everyone hates working with realtors and all that, and he's still crushing it, And
if you guys hate working with realtors, try working with network marketers. Nothing against them, but man, it is a bigger headache.
Especially network marketers in Utah, bro.
Oh, I know, right, man?
I'll never forget when I first got started with the agency a couple of years ago. I joined all the BNI, the Chamber of Commerce, the local groups, and all the local guys, because we were going to be like the local Utah SEO firm. And we dropped our prices from $2,000 a month to $1,500 to $1,000, to the point where we're giving a website for $1,000 and SEO for $500, and still nobody would buy it because they were skeptical of it. Man, there's a bunch of cheap asses. I have a rule: no local clients unless they're referred to me, unless I know them.
For real, man. No, it's true.
Those guys in Utah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Jason, what's the name of your software, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so it's Arsenal MKG. M is in marketing. So arsenalmkg.com. Or you could also go to arsenalmarketing.io. I've got 2 URLs. Just Arsenal Marketing is easier to spell.
Hey, Balls, you got any questions before I keep hijacking the whole conversation?
No. Go ahead, bro. I'm good. I'll have some for you later, but just keep going with the interview.
Okay, nope, you got it. So Jason, question, man. Software. That's not something we've had a whole lot of discussion about on this channel. It's part of business. It's part of business, not bullshit. It's part of something we should all be looking at. There's a million opportunities for it. Talk a little bit about why you decided to focus on software, how you decided to tie that into building an agency out of it, and what led you down that route.
Yeah, man. Honestly, because it's scalable, it kind of met the needs of like what I wanted to go through and accomplish. Like, instead of hiring 50 to 100 people, you build a software and it basically manages a lot of that. So like, instead of us going and charging $1,500, $2,000 a month to do a full service real estate client, we could charge $100 to $200 a month and just get like more. It's obviously a self-serve thing. They do it themselves, but we've really simplified it a lot for them. And so that was kind of the idea behind that. If I were to go back and do it all over again, though, I would have simplified the software dramatically, because like, we've got, for those of you guys who are familiar with other softwares, it's basically like a Hootsuite or Buffer plus Lead Pages plus MailChimp plus a CRM all combined into one. So like, I mean, just think about building that out. Like, it's been crazy expensive, crazy, like it's taken forever. And I mean, we're still always like building and improving upon it. But I would have focused probably on just like one little widget that did one simple thing and then expanded from there. We were kind of just building it all at the same time, and it's been a little crazy. But now we're at a point where it's like it's pretty manageable. It's like, we launched our MVP probably a year and a half ago, and now we've just been like making it better and better, more focused to real estate. But yeah, I mean that's it's just scalable, and it kind of creates that lifestyle business. And we've got a few support people on that work part-time, work remotely, but other than that, I mean, that's kind of the core of the business of that recurring revenue.
Yeah.
Where like, we get the big spikes of doing the webinar, bringing in all that big revenue and all that stuff, but also, bringing 1,000 leads per week. After that whole initial follow-up process I talked to you guys about, I have a couple weeks of like just giving them value, those leads, and then inviting them to sign up for our free 2-week trial on the software. And then, not everyone can pay for the $1,000, but a lot more people can jump on a $99 a month plan.
No, absolutely. And I think it's great for everyone who's listening to realize that there's multiple ways it's going to build an agency. You're still driving leads. You're still building business for, your market out there, but it's a little bit different way. And like you said, it has a different approach, and it's awesome. I can't even imagine overseeing a project like what you put together. Man.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of sucked. But one thing I always tell people, I mean, and I think this goes for any market. There's someone for every type of level. There's the type of people that are like, hey, do it all for me. I don't want to do anything, and I will pay whatever price you want. And then there's people that are like, hey, do it with me. And then there's people who are like, hey, I'm kind of a cheapo. I don't have the money to spend. I just want to do it myself. Yes, I know it's going to be harder. And so that's kind of the market. Like, obviously, maybe it's a little bit tougher client because, they're like, they've got to figure out how to do it themselves. But that's where we have to go through. And our job is to make software simpler, give them the templates, and just really break it down as simple as possible for them.
Dude, I just realized when you said that why realtors were the perfect market to go after. Because they're cheap asses and want to do it themselves. That's just brilliant. That's just
That's right, man. That's right. So like
every real estate agent can afford $99 a month. I've seen their commission checks, and they close one deal a year. They can pay for that.
No, that's the crazy thing, man. It's like, I don't know, the ROI that they can get. It's funny like why they complain sometimes. Anyway, we don't need to get into all that stuff, but it's like you spend $100, you get 50 leads, you made freaking $10,000 on commissions, and you're whining about that. And anyway, it's funny.
No, I'll vouch for it. My dad's been he's been generating leads, man. He's been having leads come in. He's had a ton, rocking and rolling with it. He hasn't dug into everything yet either. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long did it take you to, build the software? Because I think software is similar to webinars. People get really worried about. They get worried about it's a big project. They don't understand. They don't know. Did you have a similar process with building the software? Did it take forever? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it took a while, and so like we were working on it. So we officially for the Arsenal MKG company, we officially formed that like 2.5 years ago. But we had been like working on the software. So I'm not a developer. I've got some partner developers and stuff like that. And we had been working on developing it kind of part-time on the side for about 1.5 years prior to that. And then about 2.5 years ago, when we like officially formed the company, we had something that was like kind of like the skeleton built, where it's like, I don't know if I'd even say an MVP of the product yet, but like something that we could at least demo and show, and then kind of like get feedback from there. So yeah, I mean, it took 1.5 years, maybe 2 years of just kind of like building it part-time. And then when we finally were like, okay, let's take this serious, let's all dive in and just really go at this. That was about 2.5 years ago. And I mean, even once we went in and said like, let's form this official company, it was still about 6 months before we had something workable that we felt like we could sell. And obviously that's because it's such a big project, right? Like if you go do like one little widget, it probably could be 3 to 6 months you roll that out. But
sweet CRMs, freaking landing page builders.
I know, man. We were in over our heads, but sometimes it's good to be naive, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love it though, because it's just a good message for everybody that sometimes this stuff takes time to really figure out your niche, figure out and settle into where you're at. Entrepreneurship isn't just like a 1 month in and done. Despite what some courses out there might try and sell you and believe that you'll be making 20 grand next month, flying private jets and shit.
Exactly, man.
Shows up. Although, Jason, we know some people who are crushing it in a little. Anyways, we'll get into that later. Yeah. It's not impossible to start making millions in a year, but
that's right.
Balls, what kind of questions you got, man? I feel like I hijacked these conversations.
Yeah, well, I want to take some questions from the group. So Andrew asks, walk me through your close on a webinar. That's where I would say I'm struggling a bit, not because the offer isn't strong, not because the price, more so because they get upset about the training ending. And how do you transition from closing process without losing the clients?
So the
training of the webinar, right? Like, hey, here's a free training. And now we're going to stop training and I'm going to sell you something. I guess that's where his question is going.
Yeah. So one thing that I would say is like the content piece of the webinar. When I've gone through and I've like trained, like gone through step by step, here's how you do this and like piece it together, all those webinars bomb completely. So like the ones that really work good, it's funny because like you're not really training, but in a sense you are, because you're speaking to their false beliefs. So if you guys have studied like Russell Brunson and all those guys, like, you talk about, okay, so like for a real estate agent, for example, like they're like, oh, well, I don't have the time, I don't have the budget to spend on money, or I tried Facebook ads, it doesn't work. You just think of like all the things that they like are going to throw at you. And the more webinars you do, and that's why I also do them live, is because you can kind of see what their false beliefs are. And you're basically, your content of your webinar is more speaking to that. And then another big piece that that it took me a while to learn this, but your close, everything that you offer. So you're like, everyone does a master class. Everyone gives out like, if you do a software, you have your software and all that stuff. Everything you offer in the close, it's not just to stack the value, just to give them more crap. It's literally to go through and combat their different false beliefs, right? Like I give them, so like I have this little part of it where it's like, hey, I'm going to give you the social traffic secrets, because like one of theirs is like, well, I've tried Facebook ads in the past. I didn't get leads because they just hit the boost post button on their Facebook page. They're just getting likes and comments, right? So I basically say, hey, inside the social traffic secrets, it's going to show you, and I show like a testimonial of like this one guy who, was getting no leads and just likes and comments, and then he went and implemented it and started getting leads like immediately. So like it's more to combat those fears, I guess, as opposed to just like stack crap on and just like, oh, now it's worth 20,000 and I'm going to give it to you for 500 or whatever. I don't know if that like kind of leads it to like what is like. So for example, like with my my webinar for real estate agents, my like kind of hook is like to get them started, because like a lot of it is for beginner real estate agents, right? So I'm saying like, hey, I'm going to show you how to get your first 2 to 5 leads every single day, right? And so then I go through the content section, and then by the end, after I've gone through like my 3 secrets, I'm like, okay, are you guys like fired up now? Because I'm showing like all these case studies, testimonials throughout the whole thing, and how they can get their first 2 to 5 leads per day. Trying to see 2 to 5 leads per day is super easy, but like no one's doing that in real estate if you're a real estate agent. So if I can show them that, and then by the time I'm like, hey, are you guys fired up? You wanted me to show you how you can go through and get started, get your first 2 to 5 leads per day. And they're like, yeah. Like, I want to get, so like, that's an easy lead into that. And then like, they're kind of warmed up for that pitch. So I don't know, hopefully Andrew, that helped answer. If not, then, you can talk that a little bit later.
I think that was great, because what happens, what I see when I do like different presentations, I give out way too much information. Everyone tells me, you're giving us way too much, or like you're giving them way too much, right? So I think that's true. If you're going and you're doing the training and showing people exactly what it is that they have to do, they're never gonna buy your shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing on that too, and this is after I've studied a ton of webinars, and kind of the structure that I've structured mine. I know Dan Henry kind of has his similar, Sam Ovens, Alex Becker, like all these top guys. Secret number 1 is all about, and doesn't matter what industry you're in, it's all about like how to get started. It's like the simple, easiest way to get started. So like mine, how to get your first 2 to 5 leads per day, right? Like that's super easy. I want to show them how to do that. Secret number 2 okay, I show them how to get started. I want to show you now how to monetize what you just did in Secret 1. So Secret 1 is how to get started. Secret 2 is basically how to monetize that. And Secret 3 is how to scale it, sell the dream, sell the vision, sell the goals of what they can get to. So like then at that point, you show them how to get started, how to make money from it, and how to like, hey, in 6 months, you could be, just out on the beach every single day, basically. Show them how to like to scale it. And then they're like, by that point, they're sold. They're like, okay, I know all the steps of the process. All I got to do is just put in the work now.
So in
Definitely.
your
And one thing
webinar,
that
that's. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just gonna say one thing that I've seen as a commonality, Jason. Listening to Becker, but then all the people in our group, and we got some guys in there who are doing some pretty ridiculous numbers with their webinars. Is less content, but quick, actionable, quick hitters, and then you really do need to sell the dream, almost to the point where it's obnoxious, to the point where it's like a fucking late night infomercial. It feels uncomfortable, it feels weird, but there's a reason why Russell Brunson does it. One of the biggest things you got to remember is we are not selling to ourselves. We're selling to the general population who doesn't know what we do and doesn't realize that some of this stuff might be really easy. So we can value stack the shit out of it. There's a reason why all night, every night infomercials still run. Wait, there's more, and they always price cuts because it works. It might seem stupid to us. It might seem ridiculous, but we got to remember we're dealing with a population that isn't always super intelligent out there. So it almost gets uncomfortable with that. Jason, I don't know how big your value stack is, if it's quite as ridiculous as Russell's, but that's one of the commonalities that I've seen, throughout Becker's group. He's like, you can't just train for an hour. No one gives a shit. They'll leave, they'll be done, they'll get overwhelmed, it'll be too much. The whole goal, you do want to sell the dream a lot there. So, what do you think about some of that stuff, Jason?
Yeah, man. My initial webinar was 2 hours long. And so, it was super long. And I didn't really do the price reveal until like an hour and 15 in. Now I lead into the whole pitch 45 minutes in, about 55 minutes I do price reveal, and then I'm done after an hour 20. And most of that hour 20, like the last 15, 20 minutes is all Q&A. You want to get to the point quickly. And one thing that I do that I highly recommend if you guys are doing webinars is as soon as you go into the pitch part of your presentation, stop looking at the chat box, because you are going to get the comments of like, oh, here he goes again, selling. Okay, infomercial, all that. You get comments, like not a ton, but you do get them from time to time. And when I first started out, man, those messed with my mind so much. I was like, oh crap, like, am I doing something bad? Like, I don't know. I was just like getting so like self-conscious about it. So now I don't even look at the chat box until the very end when I open up to question and answers. And all those, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, you can give me crap or whatever, but a lot of other people are going to buy. So,
no, absolutely. That's something I learned too, man. Because I would get, what's the catch, asshole? What's the.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm only getting a couple. You want to see what's really fucked, man, is you guys should watch some of Alex Becker's lives. When he go subscribe to his YouTube channel, go watch one of his lives, and watch the chat box on that dude. And imagine what he's like ignoring over there, because he's just getting spammed with assholes. Like,
no,
it's
for real.
But he's making what, 30, 40, 50? I don't even know how much he's making a day right now, but it's ridiculous numbers. So I agree with you on that, man. Ignore the chat box. Ignore those people. One thing that I found good for me with webinars was, like I said, making sure that you're keeping engagement. But in case people aren't interacting, have some backups in your head. Hey, Beth, you love this too. Or, hey, in case people are quiet that round, because I didn't have a ton of people on a few of the webinars. Like you said, it happens, So I had shit written down. And I said Beth from Arkansas has been on every single one of my webinars since I started,
I've got Max from Phoenix, dude.
There you go.
No, so yeah, and honestly, when you start out and you're only getting, those first like 50 to 100 registrants, right at the very beginning, you're probably not going to have a lot of people on. And even if you do have 10 people on, they're not all going to throw their name in.
Yeah.
And so it is good to have a little bit but now obviously, like, once you scale things up, you're going to have like tons and tons coming in. But initially, it is good to have a little bit of something. So it's like people know that they're not the only ones on there,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Balls, what other questions do we have, man?
Let's see. Sema asks, do you run the same webinar every week, or are you tweaking, changing things to try and increase conversion?
So yeah, good question. Initially, it's like when I launch a new webinar, I will, like, for the first couple of weeks or whatever, I'll be tweaking things. But once, like, by now I've got it pretty down pat. Like, there'll be once maybe every 4 to 6 weeks, I'll like be going through the pitch or going through some part of the webinar and like, why am I doing this? This like is stupid. And I'll go back and tweak that. But I've got it pretty much to the point where I like it. But yeah, for the first several weeks, I'll be going through and making tweaks and stuff. And I don't know, I definitely went probably the hard route where most people are not willing to do this. But when I was first practicing on webinars, like I said, guys, I was super introvert. And so like I needed to just like practice delivering it. And every single morning, this is back when I was doing my 2-hour webinar. So this super sucked. I would go and every single morning I wake up and I do my full live webinar every single morning just to practice the delivery of the webinar. And that was probably for the first like 4 to 6 weeks. And then I was like, okay, I feel like I've got it decently enough. And I mean, now I don't need to do that because I feel like I've got the delivery and I have the feel of it down. But that was kind of the initial thing of, believe me, I dread it every morning, but I think it helped out.
I didn't even the Wednesday I was going to give my first ever webinar. I hadn't even practiced a full pitch. I practiced it once Tuesday, and I did a bunch of read things, so I didn't read it again until really right before, and I didn't even practice it out loud. I probably should have practiced more, but it ended up going all right. But that's just funny, man. I don't know. I don't still have the patience for that, but that's probably a really good idea. I should probably do it more of and practicing some of that because I'm getting ready to ramp up some. Or I'm thinking about getting ready to do some more webinars here soon. We kind of put it on hiatus because we found a good way to get incoming leads coming in. The last month and a half or so without it. Our lead costs were through the roof, man. So let's take that same question with, how you run the ads. Do your ads run the same every week? How much tweaking you're making there? How much you add to audiences?
So yeah, that's the one thing, like when I don't know, like the marketer's way of pitching my job is like, yeah, I do a 190-minute webinar every week and I just make sure my ads are good and that's all I do, like the easy sales pitch, right? Obviously, there's a little bit more, but the big thing though is making sure that my ads are always fresh, right? So like the ones that I felt like have worked the best for me are testimonial ads, and so like when somebody has success on our platform, like a lot of times, like I don't even reach out to them, they reach out to me, which is pretty cool, and then they'll shoot like sometimes people will shoot a video, sometimes people just like do like a little Facebook post or whatever, and so then I'm always just like. And it's weird because some of the testimonial ads like absolutely kill it. Like there's this lady who just did one last week and all of the ad sets are like sub $3 leads, and which is like better than I've ever had. And then there's other ones where it's like the same testimonial type of thing and it is like $12-15. I have to shut them off. But that's basically what I do is just make sure that I shoot for $8 for my cost per lead. If it goes up to 10, I'm fine with that. If it goes up higher than that, like it's still profitable at like $15 or so, but I'm just like, I don't want to or need to spend that much money for a lead, so I'm not going to. So if it starts creeping up too high, I just shut it off and just make sure I got new fresh content going in.
So you're making a lot of changes.
Yes and no. Like most of my ads, like I've had ads that have run for a good 3 to 4 months before I even like start shutting them off. Shutting off different ad sets. So it's like they'll run for a good amount of time. And I mean, and those are ads that I'm spending, a few $100 per day on. Like it goes pretty far. But obviously that depends on like the size of your audience, because I know your audience is a lot smaller than like the real
no, definitely, man. And ours is just it's whole different. A little different ball game over there, but we're also need to get better. Like you said, the marketer's pitch is, I just run a 190-minute webinar and, just put some ads up and I just make, 7 figures a year, no big deal. Obviously, we all know it's tougher than that.
That's right.
Cool. So we got about 10 minutes left. One thing I wanted to talk with you about, because we've had discussions about this a lot over the last few months, is where do you think things are headed in 2018 as far as marketing goes? I want to make sure you get a chance. Everyone following right now, make sure we can get your YouTube link, so we'll pin that on there too. Make sure you guys start following Jason, what he's going to do. But what kind of stuff are you working on and growing and scaling? What do you think we can do to stay ahead of the game moving into next year?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, one thing that I'm really working on is I've been doing everything 100% on Facebook, and it's worked really well. It's worked well for, I feel like, everyone. So it's like, but if like, Zuckerberg one day decides, hey, I want to just cancel that, like that kills a lot of people's businesses, right? Which obviously he's not going to do it because he's making tons of money. But I want to try to like expand my brand, my following across multiple platforms. So right now, as you kind of mentioned, I'm really working on building up my YouTube channel. I'm not sure my exact branding on that because I'm not wanting to hit just real estate agents. I'm wanting to hit marketing agencies and consultants and all that stuff. So broaden it a little bit. The thing I love about YouTube is it's a lot of free traffic, and you can do a lot of the same stuff you can do on Facebook with YouTube ads of, making those audiences of anyone that's viewed your video or lookalike audiences of people who viewed your video or subscribers. So I'm really going to nail down that. And then also one thing that I haven't really focused on, but this is a big plan in my 2018, is focusing more on high ticket sales. And the reason why I haven't focused on it too much, because like the most high ticket sale you could do with a realtor is like do all their lead gen for them. And so I don't know, I kind of like been like, oh, we can't, like, I don't want to do a full service agency type thing. So the highest ticket sale I'm really trying to do is more like basically taking our software and offering it as a white label solution where like someone could connect their own Stripe account to our software, plug in their own campaigns, target their own industry, and go scale that up. And I've got a good friend who maybe some of you guys know. His name's Joel Orway, and he's helped me a lot with like the different webinar stuff. But he's got this new concept. It's called the mini webinar. And so I'm starting to work and implement this. And it's basically like, it's kind of it's exactly that. It's a mini webinar, right? Instead of like an 80, 90-minute pitch, it's like a short 10 to 15. It's more of like a video sales letter, but you get more straight to the point with your marketing. It's like you're cutting out a lot of the marketing fluff, and you're having people fill out an application for like this higher end ticket service. So you're not selling like $1,000 product. It's more of like a $5,000 to $50,000 product or service. And so anyway, those are kind of my two focuses. Because I've got the real estate, I've got the mortgage stuff kind of like, I feel like I've got the wheels turning on that, where it's not like I know what is involved there. So now my main focus is expanding my brand on YouTube, diving more into YouTube ads, and then also kind of more of this high ticket stuff.
I love it, man. There's always room to grow. We should always continue to look up and continue to raise, the bar. We're working on more higher ticket stuff as well, even above the agency level things. Still shooting some ideas around. I love that you brought up Joel Orway. Fantastic guy to follow. I love that. Does the mini webinar ideas. So actually kind of what we've been doing a lot in our inbound stuff.
Cool.
Schedules, really. We've been doing shortened versions of what's a webinar pitch, and then asking people to schedule. And we're actually worked on an application we finished up today. So we're actually in the process of that. Didn't know you were working on it. We'll have to connect offline to talk a bit more about it, because we're doing a mini version of that right now. But YouTube, guys, telling you, my channel is coming. I've been talking about it for a month. Hasn't got started. Finally back next week.
Yeah, man, you'll make it happen. You'll get it going, dude.
It's set up. Everyone, you guys should follow Jason. I just when watching his YouTube stuff, it's fantastic. He's got a ton of good stuff over there. We'll make sure that gets pinned up top. Balls, any other questions, anything like that?
No, man, no more questions coming in from the group. Yeah, if you guys have any last minute questions, ask them now, or we're out of here. If you want, Jason, you're the group, right? So if somebody has a question that's watching the replay, they can go ahead and reply back. Awesome.
Yeah.
We went over so much freaking value in this. I'm definitely going to edit the top of that, man. I mean, talking about that webinar model and strategy, I know we didn't go point for point on how to do it, but the overview of it is so valuable, man. I mean, it's out there for people to go funnel hack, but you kind of just spelled it out for people, and that's awesome, man. We really appreciate you having on. It is one thing to get the overview, and then it's another to get it going, but you got to start somewhere, right?
That's right. Just baby steps, right?
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, Jason, thank you so much, guys. Hope you guys got a lot of that one. That was some amazing stuff dropped. We'll be back. We got one set up for next Wednesday for LinkedIn training, actually. Awesome. We'll be back. But, Jason, we'll have to have you back on sometime soon, man. I see you're at 1,145 subscribers right now. We'll see where you're at in a couple of months. We'll have you back on, man. Hopefully we'll be at 5,000, 6,000. Hopefully I'll have cracked 100 by then. So.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be good, man. But thank you so much for jumping on with us here tonight. And, let's call it a wrap, guys.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.